Good evening. My name is Andy Greer. I am one of the assistant principals here at Henderson High School and the lucky guy in charge of scheduling for Henderson. I thought a good backdrop for this video tonight would be standing in front of my scheduling board that encompasses pretty much a whole wall in my office. I get to move the magnets around every year and try to reflect the master schedule of Henderson for about 1,400 students. So I'm coming to you tonight on behalf of my colleagues at East High School, Mr. Sean Ryan, who's the assistant principal in charge of scheduling, and Dr. Chris Lenardi at Ruston High School, who's the assistant principal over there in charge of scheduling. This video serves as sort of the kickoff for the 2022-2023 course selection season. Last year, Sean, Chris, and I each made similar videos specific to our buildings and our students and parents to watch, and sort of a virtual event. But what we're really used to and what we enjoy doing is having an in-person course selection night where parents come in, we share our presentation with you in the auditorium at our building, and then we break off typically into what's called a curriculum fair, where parents and students, if they choose to come, can talk to our teachers and ask questions about the different course offerings in each of the curricular areas. We're here, the counselors are here, myself, our building principals, to answer questions that you may have as a parent. A lot of parents that come to those course selection nights are often first-time parents that will have a rising ninth grader in one of the high schools. Usually after about a year or two of course selection, you parents become experts at it. And the students, they have it down pat after going through it one or two times as well. So I hope this video serves as a quick reference as you work through the course selection process. And it is a process, as I'll show you in a moment in my presentation. It starts in January and goes all the way through August before kids get their schedules at the start of the next school year. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of deadlines, a lot of small little nuances to course selection, and you're not expected to remember everything, which is why, again, this video hopefully will serve as a resource that you can go back to. And also the PowerPoint that I'm going to be sharing with you in a moment will also be available on each of the three high schools' homepages, and also on the Westchester Area School District's homepage under the Course Selection Information Center. So please refer back to it as often as you need to. So at this point, I'm going to bring up my presentation for tonight and walk you through the steps and the various timelines of course selection. And again, any questions that you may have, please feel free to reach out to myself, Mr. Ryan at East, and Dr. Lenardi at Ruston. Never a bad question to ask when it comes to course selection, especially if this is your first time going through it at the high school level. So as I said, this kicks off course selection for the 22-23 school year. And the course selection guide, which has been offered in two versions, an interactive version that has some really cool links on certain subjects as you cruise through it, that opens up to small videos, bigger descriptions of the course offerings, and things like what students often get to experience once they take the class. Hopefully those interactive pieces give you, the parents, an idea, and the students about what to expect in certain courses. And there's also the PDF version. But the course selection guide is just a great resource, especially in the first 3 or 4 pages that talks about credit requirements, all the different policies and guidelines that govern course selection and scheduling, movement between levels, all those kinds of things. So again, this PowerPoint, as well as the course selection guide that you can see on the screen here, great resources to refer back to. So as I said, starts in January, ends in August. So there's snow on the ground. Well, hopefully tonight we're supposed to get snow. As I'm making this video, it's the 19th of January, so it's Wednesday night, calling for a couple inches tomorrow, even though you'll be viewing this video on the 26th. So we'll see what happens. But it's funny, the two seasons starts in winter and schedules go live in the heat of August. So as I said, it encompasses a lot of ground. So let's take it through each of the months real quick. So scheduling, February and March is really when teachers and parents and students go in and they pick courses. They select courses online in February, and then in March, up until March 25th, students can make changes to their electives, to the learning platforms, whether they think they want to take a couple cyber courses and then they change their mind and went all in person, the rigor levels, what electives they want to take. And then once March ends, we move into staffing based on what the students have selected. What courses are going to run, and do we need to hire more staff to fulfill all of those course requests so every student hopefully gets everything that they requested. And the reality is, as some of you parents may have already experienced in previous years, sometimes students request courses, and due to under enrollment, some things don't run. But we always try to give students as many alternates and as many options to take courses that they really want to take. And now with the going on year 3 of cyber, hopefully that bridges some of those gaps that otherwise kids weren't able to take courses that weren't running in a given building. May and June, once staffing is over, the master schedule at each of the 3 high schools starts to take shape. We know how many teachers are in each of our buildings and what they're going to be tentatively teaching, and we start to play with the sections and put that in PowerSchool and start running schedules. And then through the months of July and August, once schedules are run and we see what kind of conflicts arise, you may be getting a phone call. Your son or daughter could be getting a phone call from Dr. Lenardi, Mr. Ryan, or myself, just to try and how are we going to go about resolving a schedule conflict. So each grade level, as they go through course selection, will minimally be selecting so many credits. So 9th and 10th grade, the minimum credit load is 6. Most of 9th graders, 5 of those 6 credits are pretty automatic. Their English 9 class will be selected by their 8th grade teacher based on what rigor level. Their science class for almost all 9th graders will be biology. The social studies class will be African Asian cultures, and then math. Depending on where a student is in 8th grade with regards to a math course, the math course in high school could range anywhere from Algebra 1A all the way up to pre-calc. So the math kind of is very student by student. There is no one size fits all. And then all students will take health fitness as the 9th grade health and PE course. So those are 5 credits. If you were in person, I would ask you a trick question of how many world language courses does a student need to graduate from the Westchester Area School District? And you would be calling out 1, 2, 3. Somebody might even say none, and that person would be correct. There is no world language graduation requirement for the Westchester Area School District, but a lot of our students do take 2 or 3 years of a world language. So the world language for many of our students counts as that 6 credit or an elective. Many of our students take another elective of their choosing and carry 7 credits in 9th grade. But every student's different. There is no, as I said, one size fits all. We really try to individualize the course selection process for all of our students and encourage our students to really investigate what they're interested in instead of just kind of following along with, oh, well, some of my friends are going to take this course, so I'm not as interested, but I want to be with my friends. High school is a time to reinvent yourself and sort of explore. I know 4 years to a student sounds like a long time, but it's really not. 10th grade, again, is 6 credits and very similar to 9th grade in terms of the core area offerings. 11th grade is 6.4. 0.4 is PE 2 days a week. And in 12th grade, it's 5.4 credits. And again, the 0.4 encompasses 2 days a week of PE. So the minimum amount of credits every student will graduate with is 23.8. Levels of rigor. So teachers in core area courses in English, math, science, social studies will be making recommendations for next year for the next course in sequence at a rigor level. The goal is hopefully students are having conversations with their current teachers, not just about what they think, what rigor level they'd be most appropriate at next year, but also talking to their teachers about what they're thinking about in other subjects. Because an English teacher may or may not know that a math, science, or social studies teacher is recommending, let's say, honors or accelerated honors. So it's really important that you encourage your student, and we will encourage our students and our teachers have a dialogue about not just, well, this is what I'm thinking for you for next year in terms of Afro-Asian or in terms of math, but also the other courses, because again, this does not happen in a vacuum. You know, the students are being recommended for 4 or 5 courses in each curricular area. So those conversations are really important. And often parents will ask, well, if my child is recommended for all of a higher level, should they take that? Or should they kind of balance it out with maybe a couple of honors and a couple of CCP, or a couple of honors and a couple of accelerated honors? Well, my response to that, and I'm pretty sure that Mr. Ryan and Dr. Lenardi would echo this, each student's different. And it's a balancing act, because you know your son or daughter better than anyone. And what are they involved in? Are they doing sports? Are they involved in any activities after school? Do they participate in extracurriculars beyond the high school? Do they have a job? Do they go home and take care of siblings? So every student's time is being stretched. So once they get to high school, the courses that their teachers recommended them for may or may not be the best fit. And we will address that through our counselors and our teachers. And once the school year starts, the students are allowed to do level changes after about the 3rd week in September of every school year. But the main areas of rigor that students are going to be recommended for are college and career prep, CCP, honors, or accelerated honors, and there's also in some curricular areas AP. So teachers are making recommendations based on the student's performance in class, and also the teachers recognizing what their ability is. And the last 2 years have been a real challenge with the remote learning and the kind of in and out of school, either due to illness or the kind of the chopped up nature of how instruction has been delivered, having to pivot based on circumstances that the schools have to account for. So we were just talking about this in one department between Henderson and Pierce. You know, what's the best way to gauge a recommendation? So in most instances, I would suggest recommending students and students taking courses in the most challenging level they think they can handle. Now that's each individual course, but when now you're talking about 4 or 5 courses, I think that's where those conversations have to come in. So again, you know, erring on the side of caution, if teachers are recommending for a level and you as parents and your student have that conversation, you may choose to say, you know what, in this one class, I think we're gonna take it at this level, and then the other classes will go with the teacher's rec. But please know that teachers are doing their best to make recommendations based on the student's current performance and also their ability. And sometimes those two things don't always match. And if you have questions about a recommendation that you see from your child's teachers, don't hesitate to reach out to them either through an email or your child's counselor. So what happens in February? Well, February 1st through the 12th is when the teachers will go in and make their rigor recommendations, as I said, in the areas of English, social studies, math, science, and world language. World language typically follows the sequence based on level 1 through level 5. Often some students that may have struggled with a level 1 or 2 world language, sometimes a world language teacher may recommend repeating that level, especially at the transition from middle to high school. Especially in the last 2 years, we've seen that, those first 2 years are so important as far as foundation and grammar and the building blocks to prepare students to move up to levels 3 and 4 down the line in their high school career. This window also encompasses cyber courses, recommendations in the core area courses. And if a student is currently in cyber for any course, they need to talk to their teacher, because the cyber teacher is going to make their recommendations for the next course, but in cyber. The teacher will not just take it upon themselves to change the learning platform recommendation. So if there's a 9th grader in English 9 honors, that cyber teacher for English 9 honors will recommend English 10 at the appropriate rigor level, but probably in cyber. So if that student is planning on coming back to the building and taking an in-person English 10 course, they should let their teacher know that, so that they can make the appropriate recommendation based on the learning platform the student would like to take. As I said, all recommendations are based on the student's performance and potential. All AP and accelerated honors courses do require a teacher recommendation. And there's a little star right down there, and I'll get to that, what that star means in a moment. But rule of thumb is the teachers have a pretty good handle on ascertaining those two variables as far as performance and potential, and kind of marrying them into an appropriate recommendation. Some electives will require a teacher recommendation, but you can check on the course selection guide for those. And some elective courses also require perhaps an audition, some of them in the music area. So the high school cyber program, I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but a couple of talking points here as far as the cyber program. High school kids, if you have a student who's a middle schooler, cyber right now is either you're all cyber or you're at the middle school in person. Whereas high school, kids can pick a combination of the two, in person and cyber. Students, as I said, should let their teachers know in those core areas, English, math, science, social studies, and world language, what their intention is as far as in person or cyber. And as I said, any student that's currently in a cyber course for this school year will be recommended for the next appropriate course, but in cyber, unless you inform your teacher you're moving back to in person. In the course selection guide, all cyber courses have this little icon here of a C, that it's available in cyber as far as the district offering it. The district has come a long way in 2 short years in offering a lot of cyber courses. But just like in-person courses, what basically dictates if a course is going to run is course requests. So just like the in-person courses, cyber courses are no different in terms of that governing rule of, well, if there aren't enough course requests, a course a student may choose in cyber may not run. And we would reach out to your student and let them know whether or not that is in fact the case, and give them their options for choosing a different course. And finally, at the very bottom, the deadline for choosing between cyber and in-person courses in all content areas is March 25th. So that deadline is pretty firm, because as I showed on a previous slide, in April, we go to staffing. So the course request for students needs to be pretty finite so that we can appropriately staff and run the courses that students are asking for. So after the teacher's window comes the February 14th through 25th window, where you as parents and students can go online in PowerSchool and then pick the electives you want to take next year, whether a brick and mortar or cyber. Also, you can check out what your teachers picked for you during their recommendation window. So how does this work? So basically, you will log in to PowerSchool through the portal, username and password, and then down, once you log in, you'll click on this class registration icon. And you'll come to this screen here that welcomes you to your student's designated high school registration system for next year. If you want to see those courses that your teachers recommended, you could click on this view course request. And then when you're ready to pick electives, you would just click on this little pencil icon under the electives heading. And then you would come to this screen. And you're simply just picking and choosing those elective courses that you or your student would like to take for next year. And then once you pick those courses, you click OK. And then it takes you back to this screen. And then the next thing that a student can do, or you can do for your student, is if you're going to take advantage of maybe taking a cyber course. Well, you would come down here and click on this pencil and pick those cyber courses that your student would like to take. And then you'd repeat the process if for alternate electives. And I can't stress the importance of alternate electives. I'm of the mindset that I always recommend to my students when I do the grade level course selection meetings here at Henderson, that they pick at least 2 or 3 alternate electives. The reason the alternate electives are important is because if there's a schedule conflict in the summer or something unforeseen happens where a course that we were going to run in brick and mortar is not going to run, but it's going to run in cyber, and the student has the option to take it in cyber, but they don't want it, well, we want to make sure that they have alternatives to fill their schedule and that they don't just get what's left over based on course requests and courses running. So the alternates are very important. Please make sure your student picks at least 2 alternates. Some students will click this icon here for no lunch. Lunch, we try to offer to every student in each of the 3 high schools, but some students just aren't interested in having a set lunch period on their schedule. They either would rather have a study hall or pick more electives, things that are sort of give them a nice break in their day from the core area courses. And there's a lot to choose from between the brick and mortar courses, between cyber, between blended learning, and for some of our upperclassmen, dual enrollment courses, which get them out of the building in the afternoon to take some college courses. But this screen here pretty much is the roadmap for picking electives, cyber electives, alternate electives, and if you're so inclined to not have a lunch, and you would just basically click this and pick the only code there, which is no lunch, and that gives more flexibility in the schedule to make sure all the course requests a student wants will work out. And as I said, the electives, picking alternate sections, 2 is a good rule of thumb. And over the summer, I often call students when there aren't alternates on their schedule, and then I have to share with them what's left that they can fill out their schedule. Sometimes it works out, but I always feel bad if a student has to pick between a few courses that fit their schedule because there weren't any alternates that I could make work for them. So in a nutshell, what we just went through is course selection encompasses basically February and March. February 1st, the meetings at the building, and later on, we'll be inviting parents through each of the high schools for a more personalized open house. February 1st to the 11th, as I said, is the teacher rec window. And then there'll be about 10 days between February 14th and the 25th for online course selection, picking electives. And then there's basically a month, the month of March. You can think of as the month for changing electives, changing from in-person to cyber and cyber to in-person, and also changing rigor levels. That was that little asterisk that I had referenced back when I was discussing the different rigor levels and how teachers make recommendations. But remember, parents, course selection and teacher recs are being done in early February. There's still a lot of school left. So if your student gets a recommendation for a course next year that your child doesn't necessarily agree with or you don't agree with, reach out to that teacher. They'll be able to tell you specifically what went into that recommendation. And if it's a recommendation for honors and the student wants accelerated honors, again, it's February. The teacher is more than willing to change a recommendation based on the student's performance and how the rest of the school year goes throughout February, March, April, and May. But bottom line is, and I would be not forthcoming if I didn't say this to you, bottom line is, parents, you have the final say in terms of rigor levels. And I'll be getting to a change override form in a moment that you can access if that is in fact a decision you want to make. But March 25th, that is the deadline for all changes, including electives, cyber, in-person. And then there's this April 12th deadline down here that says elective course GPA inclusion form deadline. And I'll get to that in a moment about what specifically that is and whether or not that's something that you and your student should take advantage of. And then mid-August, schedules become available. So it's a big flurry of activity in February and March, and then staffing is in April, and then May, June, July, that's when the schedules become a real thing. So after that February 25th online window, what do you do if you didn't do it right, or you didn't pick the electives and courses you wanted, or you just changed your mind? No worries. This form, the course placement waiver agreement, this form can be used to not just change between what was recommended in, say, Algebra 2, and you were recommended for Algebra 2 honors and your student wants to change it to CCP or accelerated honors. Use this form. If the student during that February 14th through the 25th window picked Spanish 2 and Introduction to Food Prep, and they changed their mind, they still want Spanish 2, but then instead of Intro to Food Prep, they want Marketing Honors. Use this form. You're simply putting the course that you want to change and what course you want to change to. And then student signs it, parent signs it, and you just turn this in to your counselor. If you're an 8th grader, you'll turn it in to the 8th grade counselor, and they will send it up to the appropriate high school, to the master scheduler at that high school, and they will enter the new course request based on this form. So these forms can be accessed through the counseling office at any of the middle schools and all of the high schools, and also online at the Westchester Area School District homepage on the Course Selection Information Center. So please use this form for any of those reasons after the online elective window closes. You didn't miss anything. If you missed that window, or you made a mistake, or you just changed your mind, as I said, use this form and we will make those changes for you. So that GPA inclusion deadline of April 12th. So what is this GPA inclusion thing? Well, any elective course that's offered at the CCP level, whether it's in-person or cyber, automatically those quality points that whatever the final grade is in one of those elective courses at the CCP level, quality points will not count toward the student's GPA. If a student who is taking, say, Wood and Materials 1 and Sports Entertainment Marketing, If that student would like those quality points, they certainly can have those. They would simply fill out this form that's also available in the counseling office at your student's school, and also on the WCASD homepage in the Course Selection Information Center. So they would fill this out, and they would simply list the courses for next year that they want those quality points for. They want it included in their GPA. Otherwise, those CCP courses are what's called neutrally weighted. And in the course selection guide, the words neutrally weighted will be listed under each course description that falls into that category. So the deadline for submitting this form is April 12th. Your students should submit this form to their counselor, and that way we know as schedulers that, oh, these students are going to be getting the quality points at the end of the 22-23 school year for those elective courses at the CCP level to hopefully help their GPA. Some students, they take CCP level electives and they don't want those quality points because they're at the CCP level, and some students are taking courses of a higher rigor level and they have it worked out early on that if I get all A's, even if I get an A in a CCP level art course, it'll bring my GPA down, so they don't want those quality points. So this is the best of both worlds. It gives students who want the quality points the opportunity to include them, and then it also encourages students not to shy away from taking electives that are CCP level because they're worried about it conflicting with their success and their GPA based on higher level rigor courses. But this is a form, and please use this. And if you are kind of on the fence, reach out to your child's counselor. You reach out if your child is at Pierce and will be coming to Henderson, feel free to contact me. And if your child goes to Fugate and will be going to East, you could reach out to Mr. Ryan. And if your child's at Stetson and is going to go to Ruston, Dr. Lenardi is a great resource to reach out to for that feeder pattern. So on the heels of that, reaching out to your child's counselor and the master scheduler at each building, communication is key. We will be reaching out to you through email reminders, through phone dialers, about upcoming deadlines, encouraging you to check the verification to make sure that the courses that you picked online, or if you submitted a course change waiver, make sure that the course was entered properly, that the changes were reflected. So throughout the month of March, all 3 high schools are going to be sending out to their rising 9th graders as well as their current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders reminders to do those things. But we need you to reach out to us too. There's no bad question to ask when it comes to course selection. We're here to help. And on the screen here, as I said, and I started out this presentation, I am the master scheduler at Henderson. Sean Ryan is the master scheduler at East. And at Ruston, it's Dr. Chris Lenardi. So we encourage you to reach out to us, and we're here to help. So I thank you for watching. I hope this has been informative and hopefully not overwhelming. And in the next week, if you haven't already been made aware, East High School, Henderson High School, and Ruston High School will be having course selection open house nights, probably in early February, and dates and times will be communicated from each high school. And we encourage you to come out, meet the administrators, some counselors, teachers, be able to ask questions and kind of get firsthand assistance with this process. So you're not alone. And again, please know that this video is a resource that will be up on the district's homepage and each of the 3 high schools' homepages as well. So thanks for watching, and have a great evening.